Welcome to the Minnesota Micromotors Marketing Strategy presentation. Before diving into a detailed review of the marketing strategy of Minnesota Micromotors, it is important to understand both the internal and external environment in which the organisation is operating. Using the 5 Cs model, we form a view of what is happening and what may happen in 5 critical strategic environments. Using insights from reviewing the 5 Cs, we have completed a SWOT analysis to show where the company can use its available resources and manage its strengths to pursue opportunities and mitigate risks or threats. Minnesota Micromotors' strengths lay in its market share of 9% of the $137 million market, in a market where strong growth is forecast. They have a leading edge on competitors through products with a high power to size ratio, providing the group with an opportunity to increase market share with this product offering. Weaknesses for the company show that revenues are starting to decline and they are now operating with a higher price point than competitors. Their largest customers are not locked in by any contractual obligation, meaning that they have to rely on other methods to drive loyalty, such as engaging their sales workforce, which is costly and erodes profit margin. The market is already highly competitive with over 100 other players, so the company needs to be aware of its closest competitors offering similar high-quality products at a lower price point. The organisation's customers are B2B customers with varying degrees of purchasing involvement. Approximately 70% of revenue is driven by customers who purchase via large volume orders, with the remainder being small customers who purchase via a distributor network. Large volume ordering customers are segmented into 4 types, largely based on their purchasing behaviour and the importance they assign to specific product features. Small customers purchasing through distributors are the most price sensitive and mainly value products that are easy to integrate into their surgical tools. This group makes up almost a third of the company's revenue. The company is operating in a highly intensive and competitive marketplace with another 100 participants. Their level of competitiveness in the market will heavily influence market strategy. The Porter's 5 Forces framework can be used to analyse the competitive environment that the company is operating in. Key insights from the 5 Forces model is that there is already a high level of risk of substitution, with competitors releasing similar quality products at a lower price. Secondly, due to their scale and diversification of products, Tier 1 and Tier 2 companies are likely to have access to more competitive product components. Context in the 5 Cs model refers to understanding what is happening in the broader macro environment in which the company needs to operate their strategy in. Using analysis through a pestle model, we can understand what are some of the forces that shape the environment and may generate insight about how these forces could impact the organisation. The key insight from the pestle analysis is that the company needs to be aware of its technological forces that are proving competitive with other motor manufacturers increasing scale and capability where previously they may have held an advantage in a niche market. The main collaborators evident from the 5 Cs analysis are the distributor network, who have a key role to play in partnering with the company and their small customers. In doing so, they generate approximately 1/3 of the company's revenue with little overhead. Minnesota Micromotors' key strategic imperative is to achieve market share and product quality leadership by delivering the highest efficiency among all miniature DC motors, offering customers domain knowledge, customer service, and product functionality. The company has a strong marketing orientation with a commitment to customer orientation, continuous marketing research, and integration of activities with the shared common purpose of customer satisfaction. Their current undifferentiated marketing strategy is prompted by the driving choices of large customers who offer a single value proposition. The recent decline in revenue, fears of potential market share loss, and increasing competitive intensity indicate that the company's product line is in a mature stage, thus prompting a more intense and revamped marketing strategy.
In consultation with the senior management team at Minnesota Micromotors, we have been tasked for the next 13 quarters to maximize our profitability. We will do this by focusing our efforts on Segment A, comprising the large customers with whom we already have a competitive advantage, and Segment C, comprising the customers that we've identified as the least price sensitive. To come up with our strategic approach, we followed a 6-step process of segmentation, targeting, and positioning, as this is an essential prerequisite for effective marketing. Through this process, we were able to come up with a new positioning statement, and we'll be discussing the elements of this approach throughout the length of this presentation. We'll begin by defining our market, which is that of medical motor manufacturers for orthopaedic and neurosurgery devices. Its total size is $137 million, of which Minnesota Micromotors holds a 9% share. Having an understanding of our company's previous strategy and how that translated into our current market position, we propose the following strategic objectives in order to maximize our profitability. First, to increase our investment in product development by focusing primarily on our core capabilities. Second, to reinvest all available funds into R&D in order to assert our dominance in power-to-size ratio while remaining competitive in our thermal resistance capabilities. And lastly, to reassess our equal distribution of marketing expenditure between customer retention and new customer acquisition. Instead, we propose shifting the majority of our budget towards maintaining our customers, as the cost of acquiring new business far exceeds the cost of retaining our customer base. There is also enough evidence to suggest that a modest 5% increase in customer retention could result in a 25% increase in our bottom line, and that's what we're after. We categorized each customer segment as follows. Segment A is our largest, representing 33% of our total revenue, and they value not just quality and performance, but also customization. Price is of low importance to them, as long as our power-to-size ratio remains superior. Segment B represents 8% of our total revenue, and while they're not too concerned about price, they're highly sensitive to our thermal resistance capability. Segment C represents only 7% of our total revenue, and while they're equally interested in thermal resistance and power-to-size ratio, their main concern is reliability, and they're willing to pay for it. Segment D represents 23% of our total revenue, but they're not too concerned about our profits. They care more about theirs, so they drive a hard bargain and always demand the highest possible discounts. We also have distributors, who currently represent 29% of our total revenue, which is significant, but they prefer their micromotors to not have many bells and whistles so that they can remain attractive to small buyers due to their low cost. We have based the segmenting dimensions of our consumer markets by behavior, based on their knowledge of and attitude towards the type of motor that we manufacture. Within this category, we can take it a step further and segment them by benefit, since our customers highly value the functionality and versatility of our micromotors. And while price matters to some more than others, it still matters, and we have to be mindful of that. Based on our starting data, we ranked the attractiveness of our customer segments according to their contributions to our gross profit and revenue. As we can see on the slide, even though Segment C is not our largest buyer, they did come out on top as the most profitable in terms of their contribution to our margin per unit. Segment A, on the other hand, led in terms of revenue, which accounts for a third of our total sales volume. Therefore, we have chosen to target these segments because they are the most likely to help us achieve our new objective, which is all about profit. Another reason to support our decision to target segments A and C is that both benefit from a high power-to-size ratio, so this allows us to play to our strength. In hindsight, we recognize that Minnesota Micromotors has been far too focused on value-destroying customer groups. Segment B, for example, can be described as a service demander because they habitually overuse our sales force. And Segment D can be described as both a revenue reverser and a promotion maximizer because they buy more but constantly threaten to take their business elsewhere if we don't give them ever steeper discounts. For these reasons, we will deselect these customers because our ability to compete and create valuable exchanges with them is either lacking or in conflict with our new objective. You will, however, notice that we placed small customers as an opportunistic pursuit. That is because, if our strategy succeeds, we will have enough funding available to experiment with a new product line specifically designed to be low cost and generic enough to be suitable for this potentially lucrative market segment due to their combined volume. Armed with these insights, we have drafted a new positioning statement to better align with our new target customers and our new direction as a business. For original equipment manufacturers of orthopaedic and neurosurgery devices that require the most versatile motor technology, Minnesota Micromotors is the industry's leading supplier of brushless direct current motors with the strongest power-to-size ratio, enabling our customers to manufacture the lightest, smallest, and most powerful medical devices in the market.
Now that we have defined our segmentation, targeting, and positioning, we now need to establish the tactics that we will use to capture maximum value from them. The marketing mix, also known as the 7 Ps, is a framework of marketing elements that must be balanced for an organization to be successful and stand out in the marketplace. Marketing tactics are driven through application of the applicable principles in this model. with Minnesota Micromotors primarily being a supplier of tangible goods, and with a key part of their value proposition being great technical and sales support, the appropriate marketing mix elements are therefore product, price, promotion, placement, and people. Now, the first P that I'm going to touch on is product. The product lifecycle describes the rise and fall of a product line. The recent decline in revenue, fears of potential market share loss, and increasing competitive intensity identified in the SWOT analysis indicate that the orthopower micromotor product line is in a mature stage. Next, we can use the Ansoff growth matrix to understand the best growth strategy to meet our profit maximizing marketing goal. To survive in a mature market, fierce protection of the business's product strengths is imperative. It is also important that Minnesota Micromotors remains clearly differentiated from its competitors. These observations and the niche nature of the Tier 3 manufacturer market that Minnesota Micromotors competes in indicates that a product development, product growth strategy should primarily be employed to increase sales. To achieve this, product development budget must be allocated towards improving features currently valued by our target segments. The perceptual maps used during segmentation show that Minnesota Micromotors is renowned for products with superior power-to-size ratio features. This is especially valuable to the largest segment, Segment A, and this is where the most product spending needs to be targeted. Thermal resistance improvements, on the other hand, are important to Segment C. Spending on this feature is therefore also important to gain competence and improve the value proposition for this segment. Now we have promotion. There are 6 common forms of promotion used to inform, persuade, and remind the market about the organization and its value propositions, otherwise known as integrated marketing communication. Minnesota Micromotors is a business-to-business seller and should maintain their current personal selling promotional strategy to maximize their profit in the large customer segments. Research has demonstrated that to hold market position and generate growth, a focus on retaining these existing large customers is essential. To achieve this, a focus on integrated marketing communications is needed to better equip employees to sell our products. Therefore, spending should be increased in this area. Spending should also be increased on market research. This will be particularly favorable for increasing profits from Segment A. The market research spending is particularly useful, ensuring Minnesota Micromotors stays on top of customer and competitor product development and pricing. Here we have placement, otherwise known as distribution channel design. This requires a careful balance of economics, coverage, and control. The key element of this model in our context is the need for control. Our target segments are hungry for knowledge of our products, and our in-house sales resources are the best advocates for them. For this reason, the traditional distribution channel models do not meet our requirements. An alternative approach must be maintained where the business sells directly and exclusively to our target segments who are large customers. An indirect approach using distributor networks will still be employed for the small customer segments, although no marketing budget will be allocated to promoting our products in this space. Coverage is not particularly important to our distribution channel strategy since we are specifically targeting only 2 segments. The distribution budget is primarily driven through the people strategy. The allocation of these resources, though, is dictated by the focus on customer segments A and C. Next is people. To increase profit, it is recommended that the total sales force be reduced. This will stabilize expense forecasts and will also take out the reported fluctuations in sales force. Whilst we are reducing sales force to increase profitability, consolidated staffing should increase employee loyalty, customer retention, and customer satisfaction. This is demonstrated through the satisfaction loop framework by virtue of consolidated employee expertise, and will be a compounding element to our profit maximizing strategy. Finally, we have pricing. The organizational objectives and outcomes from the analysis of the marketing mix elements are important factors for the pricing strategy. The profit maximizing objective dictates that the price must be set at an appropriate level, ensuring maximum profit for each period. All costs introduced are fixed costs, so as sales volume increases, profit margin will follow suit. An important consideration for pricing is that the customers who have the highest perception of value for our products also demand the highest levels of service, which is reflected by the sales force emphasis allocation described in the distribution strategy. It is also recognized that those customers who have the highest needs and perception of value are less price sensitive. This phenomenon can be explained through customer price quality association. To capitalize on this, an appropriate pricing model is a dynamic, value-based one. The significant increase in spending noted in many areas is going to drive the unit price up. To soften the impact of these unit price increases, the discount rates will need to be adjusted. This must then be incrementally decreased each quarter as customers adapt to the new pricing structure. Segment C has previously been indicated to be the least price sensitive, and efforts should be specifically made to rapidly reduce their discount rate to 0.
To trial our tactics, we conducted a series of simulations to gauge the impact of our proposed strategy. The chart on screen shows the sharp contrast resulting from investing in opposing areas of product development with a focus on thermal resistance generating a significant loss. On the other hand, investing in power to size ratio increased our overall profitability by 369%. Moreover, for segments A and C, our market share grew by 194 and 433% respectively. Our simulations also suggested that our competitors would always undercut our pricing no matter how low we dropped, so it would seem pointless to use a competition-based pricing strategy as it would only lead to a price war that we would ultimately lose. Nevertheless, we still had to try, and the results were just as we expected. Either a very low profit or even a loss for both competition and cost-based pricing strategies. In contrast, we achieved the highest profit margin by leveraging the costing sensitivity of segments A, B, and C with a dynamic value-based pricing strategy. Surprisingly, satisfaction levels were not affected either way. When we focused our starting sales force on large customer retention, our net profit grew by 307%. And when we downsized our sales force and maintained focus on the same customers, our net profit still grew, albeit by only 23%. So by redirecting the attention of our sales, marketing, and technical support teams into these high involvement segments, we managed to improve our profitability due to the increased customer loyalty and product demand that ensued. Here we have a quick visual representation of our decisions. This chart shows the dynamics of our value-based pricing strategy per segment and per quarter. Here we see our sales force concentration, particularly for segments A and C. Here we see the progression of our spending on existing large customers. And here we can see how we've invested in research and development over time. The next few slides show the final results of our 13 quarters after implementing our marketing mix tactics. The trends in these profitability charts are self-evident. Based on the company's last recorded quarter before our time, we grew our net income by 358% and our total revenue by 117%. On the second chart, you'll notice that our cumulative profit grew to $8.8 million. Other quarterly results are also shown, and overall we can see that our gross revenue grew to $68 million. The decisions that most contributed to our income growth were a 10% increase in selling price, a 10% decline in expenditure, and a 239% growth in unit sales per quarter. In terms of margin growth, the quarterly contribution of segment A matured at 136%, while segment C's peaked at 469%, showing no signs of slowing down. By concentrating our sales force and increasing our spending in power to size ratio, segment A's unit sales grew by 125,000 units, which by the end accounted for 53% of our total sales volume. But at the same time, the cost of goods sold increased by 27%, likely because we neglected to invest in process efficiency. As a result, we failed to capitalize on an additional 19% margin. In terms of market share, we reached a total of 8.8% after our sales volume consistently grew by an almost incredible average of 39% per quarter for all 13 quarters. And our market share for our target segments A and C grew by 121% and 240% respectively. Our increase in sales volume and market share came mostly from existing large customers, as shown by these charts. This growth was achieved through dynamic value-based pricing, aggressive investment in power to size ratio, reallocation of our sales force to retain our large customers, leveraging personal selling techniques, and investing in training and marketing research to improve our products and services. We believe that by delighting our targeted segments with better service, product quality, and fair pricing, we achieved the level of customer satisfaction that resulted in greater demand for our products. In the end, our target segments were highly satisfied, and so were we. We believe our continued investment in product improvements, marketing, and customer retention had a big role to play. We consistently dedicated a substantial percentage of our sales and marketing budget on large customer retention and reallocated our sales force among our customers in recognition of their needs for support and in accordance with our respective market share for each individual segment. Surprisingly, despite deselecting all the other customer segments, their satisfaction levels did not plummet. We believe this ties in with a 2014 research study that concluded that there was a weak relationship between customer satisfaction and spending behavior. Throughout our contractual 13 quarters, our strategy for Minnesota Micromotors helped us achieve a cumulative profit of $8.8 million without any significant loss in overall market share. In contrast, had they continued on their previous path, their cumulative profit would have fallen short by over $6 million. Therefore, to continue building upon our recent success, we recommend the following measures. Continue investing in power-to-size ratio to increase our market share for our target segments, maintain our current pricing and distribution tactics, optimizing our strategy for profitability and market share, continue investing in market research and staff training to keep delighting our customers and cultivating their loyalty, identify and target key users such as surgeons, as well as other influencers, buyers, deciders, and gatekeepers involved in our customers' buying process, with the purpose of tailoring more precise marketing campaigns. Begin investing in our manufacturing process efficiency to lower our operating expenses and the cost of goods sold. And lastly, now that we have the budget, to produce a cheaper, more generic version of our product to suit the needs of Segment D, our distributors, and their small customers. This would allow us to maintain our status as high-end innovators while at the same time opening new market segments with lower cost needs.